You're good, man. We're recording.
All right. Welcome to the Loudr Lawyer Network, where we help attorneys scale to $1 million months through powerful strategies and connections. And today, my guest is Mason Rashtian. Mason, how are you, sir?
I'm good, Rajay. How are you?
I'm good, man. I'm good. I hear you. Like the Lakers, man.
I'm a huge Laker fan. Been for 40 plus years.
Yeah, man. They doing so right now, right?
They'll get better. Wait till the playoffs comes around. Then we're gonna start cranking it up.
Right. Hey, so Mason, tell us a little bit about you. Take me back to the moment to where you decided you wanted to be a PI attorney.
Well, I always wanted to be an attorney ever since I was in high school. I'm one of those rare people that kind of knew what he wanted to do. So I finished my undergrad degree in psychology, and then I went to law school. Originally, I wanted to work for the district attorney's office as a prosecutor, but being in LA at the time, there was a hiring freeze. There was, there's no way to get into the DA's office at the time. So I started working as a civil attorney. For the first 9 years after law school, I was an insurance defense attorney. So I'd get hired by insurance companies as an attorney who would defend lawsuits. So if you got sued by somebody, they would give it to their insurance company, and the insurance company would hire our firm, and then we would defend the lawsuit. So I did that for the first 9 years, and then in 2006, I decided to switch hats, and I'm on the other side, and I do strictly plaintiff's work since 2000. So,
Tell me about your first case. What was your first case in the PI world? What really hung you in there to pursue what you're doing today?
oh my God, I honestly I couldn't go back that far. Again, I did defense and plaintiff, so I'm not sure if you mean on the plaintiff side or on the defense side. But either way, it's been such a long time, and in 28 years, I've handled so many cases, and not just car accidents, but we handle everything from car accidents, slip and falls, dog bites. We have burn injury cases. We have construction site accidents. We handle I've had a cemetery case. We handle mold cases. We handle food poisoning cases. The very first case I had when my firm opened up would have had to been a car accident, but it was such a long time ago.
Let me, so me interrupt you. Let me put it this way. What was your most memorable one where you said, yes, this is where I'm in, I'm all in? The case that defined who you are today.
Oh my God. Throughout these 19 years, there have been a handful here and there. And every time I think I've got it, I don't got it. So, like I said, there's been, like recently, I can tell about some recent ones. That's probably easier.
Okay.
The car accident ones are, car accident ones are car accident ones. Unless you get into a pedestrian accident, we had one that was a little bit more severe. But the ones that I remember the most are the unusual ones that are more fun. Like we had in the past 3 or 4 years, we had a cemetery case. Our client's father was moved from his grave and moved to another grave because they had sold that grave to somebody else 25 years earlier. So they never told our client about it, or the wife, who was in hospice at the time. My client one day went to visit her father, and the grave wasn't there anymore. And so she came to find out what happened. And the problem was that they had to find a new grave where he was, bring up the casket, and open to make sure it was actually him, because their mother had been deceased since the father had passed, and they were supposed to be buried together on top of each other. So that was the emotional part of the case.
Wow.
So that's what I remember in the past few years. We've had burn injury cases. We had a 10-year-old who fell into an open fire pit. That was another one. We just resolved the case with Starbucks. So there's been a few here and there. Those are the more unusual ones that I remember. I'll be honest with you.
Tell us about the Starbucks case. What was that about?
it's just hot tea spilling on somebody. That's
Hot tea.
honestly, that's all I can talk about. I'm supposed to not talk about it. There's a confidentiality portion of the case, but I'm not saying any names or anything like that. But my
Right.
client with hot tea spill on her. That's all.
Okay. Okay. Cup busted at the bottom. All it fell out. Faulty cups.
It did do some had some issues with the cup. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Um, what was the hardest lesson that you had to learn in handling PI or civil cases? What's the hardest lesson that you had to learn?
So it there's a lot of issues that come into play. So for me, when I did defense work, I had a lot of people helping me. I had other attorneys involved. The last firm I was at, we had like 30 or 40 attorneys, right? Plus we had the supporting staff. So one of the hardest lessons was when I left and opened my own office, I was a solo practitioner. I did everything for the first 2 years. So part of it was learning how to be able to do everything from marketing standpoint, bringing in clients, pre-litigation, all the lawsuit, and that was one of the hardest things for me, and not having the support staff for the first 2 or 3 years. As far as the legal aspect of it, I had a great mentor. I learned a lot from him. So he was an AV-rated attorney at the time. The funny thing is, I know most people don't know what that means anymore.
Excuse me. What? Say that again.
AV-rated with Martindale Hubbell. That used to be the gold standard for attorneys up until AV. Yeah. So for the longest time, you could get rated by judges and other attorneys. And Martindale Hubbell, who's been around for 130 years, would give you a rating. And the best rating you could get as an attorney for not only your legal, how good you are legally, but your ethical standards would be AV rated. So at the time, again, this goes back 25 years ago, 26 years ago. Having that designation was huge. It was way before you see stuff like super lawyers. That was super lawyers before super lawyers. So he really knew his stuff. So I learned a lot from him as far as how to take that position, how to handle cases, how to make arguments in front of a judge, and when you actually do the pleading for him. So that was a lot of stuff I learned, and it took a while. And then from there, I went to another firm, and I learned some more. But I could tell you, I think after I had my own firm, I learned a lot more because I'm more hands-on than I was even before then. I mean, in every part of the case. So
you said something that was really interesting, Mason. You talked about when you first started, how you had to go out and wear all these hats, from the marketing, from pulling in the clients and things of that nature. What were some of the things that you did to get your base, your fan base, so to speak?
So it has changed since 2006 so much, right? Because in 2006, 19 years ago when I opened my office, internet wasn't what it is now, meaning you didn't have as many commercials on the internet. You didn't have, I'm not sure if Facebook was even around back then. I know Instagram and those because we're not around. So social media was completely different. So the main thing for me was the personal contact, right? I would go meet all the chiropractors personally in my neighborhood. I would go to all the chamber events. So it was a very personal, one-on-one connection that I had with everybody who could potentially be a referral base for me and for them at the same time. Nowadays, it's changed so much. I mean, throughout this time period, I even tried a small billboard where I live in the Santa Clarita Valley. Didn't do anything, but that was 20 years ago. I even had a local TV commercial on, God, it wasn't even Spectrum at the time. That didn't do anything for a year, but that was 20 something years ago. Now it's completely changed. Now it's not just the personal connection that you get. It's also the social media aspect of it, obviously. I mean, I don't do any commercials on TV. I don't do any commercials on radio or even on social media. I do put up my videos, talking about the law and talking about what you should and should not do. For example, after an accident, I do have my own podcast, stuff like that. But it's just changed so much. Nowadays, you got to kind of be able to do everything. You got to be on social media at the same time. You have to still meet people person to person. So
Right. So you said something was you talk about things that happened 20 years ago and where you were. Um, what role has social media played in you getting clients now? What's the response like for you? What's that been like?
so it's still rare that we get somebody who comes to us directly from social media. The idea with social media, at least I always thought, was that you want to be the person that people know if they hear your name.
Right.
Right. Throughout this time period, we used to get clients sometimes, and we always ask them, "So, how did you find us?" If it wasn't a direct referral, I would get stuff like, "Well, I've seen your name around, or I heard your name, but I don't know where," kind of thing. Social media, so you get in front of people, and right there and then, most people don't need an attorney, especially an accident attorney, unless you're looking for one. So it's the idea of you want to be in front of people so when they do need you, they remember your name more than anything else. Or they look at your videos and they go, hey, that's a good tip he's giving me. So he knows what he's talking about. He's an expert in that issue.
Right.
So,
You said take you back a little bit. You said you like having that human touch with your clients. Can you
yeah.
give me an example of what kind of human touch are you talking about in terms of cases?
So
And
as far as clients goes, because I'm a small firm, I'm a boutique size firm, it's me and my assistant Nicole. When you call our office as a client, you know exactly who you're talking to. It's either me or her.
right,
When you email us, it's either me or her. When you text us, it's either me or her. So not only you know who we know who you are. We're
mm,
not a big firm like those factory firms like Morgan and Morgan, when all they do is one size fits all. When you go over there, you don't know who you're talking to. They have no idea who you are. You're just a number to them. That's not us. We know our clients and they know us. When their birthday comes around, we wish them happy birthday, right?
ah,
When not only do I send out Christmas cards, I send them out cards for Halloween. They all get cards for St. Patrick's Day. So we want to make sure we're there for them in case they need us. I can tell you right now, I've had a former client who sent us two edible baskets in the past year because she has a small claims action that she needed help with. As attorneys, we're not allowed to participate in small claims action, right? It's only them. But she called me up for whatever help I can give her. I'm giving it to her, and for that, she gave us, an edible arrangement. Uh, on Monday, I got a card from a former client for Happy Valentine.
oh, nice.
Yeah, see, that's the kind of stuff that we get. We love seeing that stuff. So, we're there for our clients during and after the case is done.
That's really good. Um, what role has how do I say this? How do I put this? You talked about the 20 years ago about
Mhm.
the AV ratings and things of that nature. If you were to be AV rated today, what do you think your AV rating would be?
Well, it is. I am. I've been AB rated since I don't know 2009. So I've been designated as an AV rated attorney. I have a super lawyer. I have that designation. You know,
Ah,
yeah,
super lawyer without all the billboards and stuff, huh?
yeah, yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome. What is the biggest myth about PI attorneys that you think needs to change?
Oh my God, there's so many. One of them is obviously they don't communicate back to our clients, and that is true. That's not a myth. Most attorneys don't communicate with their clients like they're supposed to. We do. We send out texts all the time. We send out emails, phone calls, whatever we need to do. We do that. The other myth is it's not being unresponsive. That they're unapproachable. They're cold. They're sharks. They're snakes. All that stuff comes in. But the biggest problem we're facing today isn't necessarily those. The biggest problem we have today is the unscrupulous attorneys who go on have TV commercials and billboards, and everything they put on their ads is a flat out 100% lie and misrepresentation. Okay. So anytime you see an attorney on TV with a commercial, they're lying about something. They'll come up with some number that no one's ever verified, and it's not collectible. And nobody can ever say, "Oh yeah, really?" Nobody ever questions them about what they're claiming they have done or can do. Right? Same thing with their ads. They're full of. I'll give you an example. Jacoby Myers, right? Their TV commercials say, for the past, I don't know, 45, 65 years, we've been helping you. No. There was a firm called Jacoby Myers in the 80s, but that firm's long gone. They stole that name to another firm who uses that now. So it's not the same firm. So I tell you, we've been helping you for 45 years. That's an absolute misrepresentation because that is not the same firm. It's totally somebody else who bought that name and is using it today.
Wow. So how can firms operate that way? Is there any legal?
They do because nobody calls them on it. Nobody calls the state bar and complains about it. And let's face it, the state bar is probably not going to do much about it anyway.
Right.
And if I was running the state bar, the first thing I would do is prohibit attorney advertising, plain and simple, on TV. Because it's misrepresentation. Clients get the wrong impression of how much their case is worth all the time. Because no one tells them. Right? They don't tell you when the guy says, "Oh, I just got $1 million." Really? Did you actually get $1 million? Did you actually collect it? How much of it did you get? How much of it did you go to the attorney? How much of it did you go to the doctors? You know what I mean? There's a lot of stuff that comes into play, but all that here is that dollar number and a total misrepresentation of what their actual cases were.
So tell me, how do you find out what what steps do you take to find out what a client's case is worth?
A lot of it depends on, obviously, my experience in doing this for such a long time. Because not only do I have litigated cases on both sides, plaintiffs and defense, I'm also a settlement officer with the LA courts. So I see a lot of cases and I know how much they settle for. Sometimes what we do is, oftentimes, if the case I'm not sure about, I go search all the jury verdicts. Not all cases go to jury, only 2% of cases do, but it gives you an indication of how much a case may be worth based on certain circumstances, right? Simple car accidents, like rear-end collisions, you're not going to find many of those. And you can, but it's rare unless it's a really big case. But a case like the cemetery case one, yeah, the jury verdicts actually help a lot. So stuff that I don't necessarily am familiar with because it's an unusual case, jury verdicts is the way to go. And I also check, CALA doesn't have that. CALA is the plaintiff's bar. I do some looking around to see whether people may have talked about particular cases, but they never tell you what a value of a case is. So.
Right. On something like you said, the cemetery case, there's a lot of cases you look at pain and suffering and what is happening. So the trauma or the PTSD that someone may go through, is that kind of like what you look at with a case like a cemetery case, with having the grave uprooted and tell how does that work?
Yeah, I'll tell you the funny thing. When we had filed the lawsuit, my first interaction with the defense attorney, he calls me up, kind of I'll say just kind of a dick at the time, right?
Yeah.
I call him by his first name. All attorneys call each other by their first name, right? Even when I had a boss, the partner said, call him my first name because we're all equal. So anyways, I call him by his first name, and the guy's first response is, "You can't call him my first name. I don't know you. I'm Mr. So-and-so." Right?
Wow.
Yeah. And then he tells me, "You don't have a case at all. Your body was moved by 6 feet. So what?" I said to him, "I suggest you do some search, go on the jury verdicts, and see this case happens a lot. And there are cases on point exactly like this." And he goes, well, why don't you give it to me? I go, do your own work, dude. I'm not going to do your work for you. So needless to say, at some point, he did do his research and realized, yeah, these are absolute cases that happens a lot, and there's values to them. And those jury verdicts actually help figure out exactly what the value of the case is. So,
Nice. Wow.
yeah.
I mean, that's I never even thought about what kind of trauma could come from that.
And of
That's
course, everyone's different. So my clients, for them having to see their father's body in the casket after it's been buried for a while, that was a lot worse than some of the stuff you see. I mean, it wasn't just the fact that the grave was moved and they have to go find it. They have to see their, you know, father's body all over
they have
again.
to, and something like that. Do they have to identify?
Yeah.
So they have to identify.
There's nobody else left. Their mother had passed away already, right? So it was just the daughters. Yeah.
Wow. Wow. I can't imagine going through something like that. Um, if you were to go back, Mason, to your younger self, because you're talking about the time. So when you first got into law, if you were to go back,
Mhm.
what would you tell the younger version of Mason, or better
Yeah.
yet, what would you tell a young attorney that is trying to get into
Okay. That,
civic right now?
that's so funny. I'm smiling because when I do my podcast, that's the last question I ask people based on what you know today. If you told your 10-year-old self, what advice would it be?
Hey,
You know, I- you know, I- it's different because as a young person, I would tell myself things change. Everything changes. Who you are today is not going to be the same person you are when you're 20, when you're 30, when you're 40, when you're 50, right? Things are
right.
going to change. So, so don't let this get to you now because it's going to pass. Plain and simple. As an attorney, whew, and it's funny because I used to mentor a lot of attorneys too. Um, you know, read up on the law as much as you can. And here's what I mean. You have to know what you're talking about, right? I just had a mediation on Monday where my client was, we're having a mediation with two people from LA Resolve. The LA Resolves are attorneys out there who are mediating over a case, trying to get the case settled, right? Same thing I do. I can tell you these two attorneys who don't do personal injury, they do employment law. One of them was completely wrong on the law, and the other one was completely wrong on the procedure of the law. As mediators, you should know better than that to come into a mediation and flat out not know the law, right? So what I would say is make sure you know what you're doing, what you're talking about. Don't make up arguments that you cannot support. Plain and simple. And try to learn as much as you can from other people.
Mm, very, very,
Plain and
very,
simple.
very, very solid advice. So I'm looking at you, I'm listening to you, and you have this regalness about you in terms of um, how you speak about the law and what you look at other attorneys and things of that nature. Based on that, where do you see yourself? Where do you see yourself going? Where do you see your firm going? Because you're a pretty knowledgeable guy, like you
Yeah, I am, and
across
and
the
it's not,
spectrum,
yeah.
and I think a lot of people could benefit from your services. So how do you put that out there?
So when I first opened my office, I really wanted to do one of the biggest firms out where I live in Santa Clarita. But now, honestly, I don't want to be the biggest firm because I want to go home and enjoy, being with my wife, my kids, and my dog, right?
Right.
Hey, as long as I can help the clients that need help, make sure they're happy, and be able to support myself, my family, and get ready for when I retire, hopefully in 10, 12 years, that's all I want. I'm happy. So, I've set a goal for the past few years of if I get 6 clients a month, that's my goal because I know that's sustainable. That keeps me where I want to be. It's not too much. Because if you go too big, especially too big too fast, then you're in trouble because you cannot then give the same service that you want to your client.
Right.
But that's a
How
big
long
issue.
how long you've been in practice as
Well, 20,
your own firm right now?
19 years and 9 years as a defense attorney. So 19 years, 28 years total. 19 years as my own firm.
And how long have you been in the PI side?
Well, if you count the defense work, it's the same time. So 28 the whole entire time, 28
Okay.
years.
Okay. So you got time to scale it up now because you're established. You know what I mean? You've been there a while.
Yeah, I know.
You
But
know,
but
I think a
but
lot of people could benefit from your services, knowing
yeah,
because there's not a lot of attorneys who are just as open and to the point as you are. I'm watching you. You're very you're relaxed. You're calm. You know, you're sure. You have a lot of surety.
thank you. It's taken me a long time to get here. Let me tell you. But I will tell you though, if an attorney out there pisses me off, like in a deposition, oh my God, oh yeah, you see the fire coming out of me and the smoke coming right here. So I may be calm or collected right now, but when I get mad and I yell, oh, watch out. Yeah.
So when you hear the term "Loudr Lawyer," which is the Loudr Lawyer Network, right? So when you hear the term "Loudr Lawyer," what does "Loudr Lawyer" mean to you?
I'll be completely honest. My first time actually seeing it. If you're saying louder, means I'm loud, but I'm not sure if that's what you're going for. So
No,
I don't know.
I want your when you think about that, what do you think about? What is a Loudr Lawyer to you?
Now louder as in Louder.
Well, it's Loudr. They put the thing, but I'm just
Right.
saying louder. Louder. Yes, when you think of Loudr Lawyer.
Well, somebody who's loud as an attorney is obnoxious, but that's the impression I get. But I'm not saying anybody is. I'm just saying that would be my first thing. Sometimes if you're too loud, that means you're, I don't know, you're compensating for something. You got to be a little calmer, be able to negotiate, be able to talk to people, and that's what you want to be like. You're more evil kill.
So let me tell you what Loudr Lawyer is. Loudr Lawyer is someone who's efficient like you, getting the bottom line, getting all the answers that clients have, and having that personable human touch, but not only in the courtroom, but also in the community, being able to outreach in the community, being able to reach the people who, like you said, you're in Valencia, right? Out in Santa Rita. So being at, sports teams, school functions, things of that nature, just being really involved in community and rallying around. So you're loud in the sense of being out there and not just being, stuck in an office, right? Your personality. You have a personality that people need to receive.
I like your definition a whole lot better than my definition. Let me tell you this right now. And you know what? I guess at some point I was like that because when my kid was younger, my son, he was in Cub Scouts and in Boy Scouts, so I was, the leader of the pack and all that stuff. So I guess in a way, yeah, I was out there doing that stuff for a
Yeah,
while.
you're a Loudr Lawyer. Absolutely. You're a Loudr Lawyer. Well, man, so good talking to you. Oh, I had another thing. UFOs.
Yeah.
Have you ever had a UFO encounter? What got you into UFOs?
Oh God, I don't know. I've been obsessed with the paranormal for a long time, but UFOs are on top of it. You know, I don't know. It's always been there ever since, probably even before the X Files. Right, that was my favorite show of all time, X Files. First episode I saw, I was hooked. So I've always been into it. So now I watch all the shows that are out there, like Secrets of Skinwalker Ranch, the UFO Files. All of you come up with, hey, I'm there. And what I'll do is, a lot of times we set our front in our front yard, right? And we have an open sky where we live. It's not like we used to be in the valley where you can't see anything. And sometimes we look for UFOs. And there's times you've seen stuff that you cannot explain. Oh, hell yeah. Yeah.
Tell me about a time.
Like one time, my son comes in and goes, Dad, you got to see this. I go out there. There's a whole cluster of lights in a distance. And it was not, you could tell, it was not birds. It was not planes. They were moving back and forth. I've got a photograph of a couple of things which I cannot explain. So yes, once in a while, Not as much as I want to. We do see some stuff out here.
Nice. Have you ever seen anything paranoia in the law that
No,
makes you go, hmm?
no, not yet. Not yet.
All right. Hey, Mason, it was great talking to you, man. I appreciate you being here on the Loudr Lawyer Network. And yeah, you have any questions for me?
No, but we can chat. I want to know more about what you do. So you gotta tell me
Okay.
about that stuff too.
All right. It was great having you, man.
Same here. Take care.
All right. Take care. We're gonna cut this and Will, and I'll be able to talk to you. I want to be able to